Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Just going to wait a minute while everyone joins us. Awesome. So welcome to the Ask Me Anything admission to UBC Engineering for Canadian and permanent resident students. It's so great to have you all here today. We're so excited to hear all of the questions that you have. My name is Marie Reed. I'm an engineering advisor for the School of Engineering at the UBC Okanagan campus. My pronouns are she, her. I would like to start off today by acknowledging that UBC Okanagan is situated in the territory of the Selix Okanagan Nation and their peoples. I would also like to acknowledge that you are joining us today from many places near and far and acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. So now I'd like to pass it over to Franco, who is going to start us off today.
Thanks so much, Marie. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session today. As mentioned, my name is Franco Fung. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm the Student Recruitment Officer at the UBC Vancouver campus. And I would like to acknowledge that our campus sits on the traditional, unceded, and ancestral territory of the Musqueam peoples. So today we have a great session for you ready. We're here to answer any questions you have about applying to UBC Engineering. In addition to myself and Marie here, we also have two current students who I'll be introducing right now. So from our Vancouver campus, we have Chloe. Chloe, if you'd like to do a quick intro.
Hi everyone, I'm Chloe. I'm a third-year materials engineering student at the Vancouver campus.
Awesome, thanks, Chloe. And then from our Okanagan campus, we have Ashton.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashton. I'm a fourth year mechanical engineering student at the Okanagan campus. Glad you guys could come.
Awesome. Thank you both. You'll be hearing more from them just shortly. So for our session today, we're going to start off, myself and Marie, we're going to start off with a short presentation. So during the presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A function to submit that question. The Q&A function, of course, can be found on the bottom of your Zoom window. Click on that. It should open up another window, and you'll be able to submit your question from there. You can also upvote questions as well. So if you see another question that is submitted, that's something that you're also curious about, please feel free to upvote that so we know that that's a popular question, and we'll make sure that is addressed before our session ends today. So let's dive right into it. So of course, if you're joining us here, I'm assuming you're interested in studying at UBC. So why engineering at UBC? Well, if you choose to join us here, you'll be joining a university which is globally recognized for its excellence in teaching and research, as well as its global impact. World university rankings, such as the Times Higher Education, ranks UBC as #2 in Canada and within the top 50 universities in the world. And we're also top ranked in industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Now, when we're looking at UBC engineering specifically for 2024, if you're familiar with Maclean's, Maclean's ranked UBC engineering as the #2 engineering program in Canada based on program and research reputation. We're also home to the largest co-op program in Western Canada, where we have fantastic employer partnerships that help set you up for success. We will talk about co-op a little bit more later on. But overall, to sum up the slide here, if you choose to join us here at UBC, you are going to be joining one of the top ranked universities in the world. So there are two ways to get an engineering degree from UBC. You can study at our Okanagan campus in Kelowna or the Vancouver campus, which is located on the west side of Vancouver. The campuses are about a 4.5 drive apart, or if you choose to fly, it'll be about an hour. While the feel of each campus can be quite different, both of our campuses engineering programs are equally prestigious and accredited, where you'll be learning or working with the professors who are leaders in their fields. So it doesn't matter what campus you start at, you're going to be starting in the foundational first year, where you're going to start building your foundation. You're going to take courses in things like engineering design, chemistry, physics, math, and English before continuing in your program and completing your degree at that campus. Now, a common question from students always is, how do I know which campus is right for me? Personally, of course, I do think it's a personal choice. Overall, we do recommend that you should start at the campus that you plan to finish at. So definitely take the opportunity to explore the unique opportunities and lifestyles that are offered at both campuses and their surrounding cities and towns. If you aren't able to visit the campus or cities in person, that's okay too. We do have virtual options such as a virtual campus tour available at both campuses. And of course, you can always connect with our current students through our chat with a current student program. So as I mentioned earlier, doesn't matter which campus you start at, you're going to be starting in that foundational first year. And in that first year, again, you're going to be taking courses in engineering design, chemistry, physics, math, and English before continuing into your selecting and continuing in your program. So overall, in your first year, you're going to be introduced to the design cycle right away in your first year. And you're going to be taught and you're going to learn how to think like an engineer. Throughout your first year, you're going to have an opportunity to learn more about each of the different engineering programs offered at each campus by attending different events, connecting with senior engineering students, or even chatting with your professors. This will give you a solid understanding of all the options that are available to you and a much better sense of maybe which program is best aligned with your interests and aptitude, sorry. Now, at both campuses, students will select their program of study at the end of first year through this process called the second year placement process. Now, at the Okanagan campus, there are 5 engineering undergraduate programs that you can choose from. So at the Okanagan campus, we offer civil, computer, electrical, mechanical, and manufacturing engineering. Students will choose their program at the end of their foundational first year through that second year placement process I mentioned earlier. At the UBC Okanagan campus, one thing keep in mind, there's a note on the left-hand side as well. At the Okanagan campus, engineering students are guaranteed placement in any of the 5 engineering programs. So what does that mean? During the second year placement process, students will simply select the engineering program that they would like to continue with for the remainder of the degree. So for example, if you are interested in going into civil engineering, you select civil engineering on your placement forms and you are guaranteed a seat in civil engineering, as for example. Now, this is a little bit different at our Vancouver campus. At our Vancouver campus, we offer 14 different engineering disciplines for students to choose from. They're all listed there on the screen for you. At the Vancouver campus, there is a program placement process at the end of first year. So how this works is students, you will indicate and rank your preferred programs and submit a personal statement. The process is competitive depending on the program that you're interested in. And then our faculty and staff will evaluate all applications and place students in their programs. Usually you'll be notified of your program placement by late June, so you'll be ready to select your courses for second year. Now, for some students, if you are a top applicant, you may be offered guaranteed placement into your top program choice at the Vancouver campus. Now, if you are a part of this group, you'll be notified by email from our faculty. So this will come separately from your offer letter. So similar to how you'll be notified about any awards and scholarships. But please note, if you are offered guaranteed placement, you are still required to meet the eligibility requirements in your first year to keep your guaranteed placement. Of course, you'll receive more information about this in the congratulations letter. Now, if you are not offered this guaranteed placement opportunity, don't worry. As I mentioned earlier, you'll have an opportunity to select your program when the second year placement process opens in mid-March for all eligible students. But overall, students at both campuses, you're going to have an opportunity to learn lots more about the placement process throughout your first year. I think one of the greatest things about choosing and pursuing a university degree is the opportunity to customize your degree. You really are in the driver's seat, right? It's your degree, so you can choose how you want all the different experiences that you can take on. As I mentioned earlier, within your foundational first year, from the very start, you're going to be exposed to hands-on design projects where you're going to be working in teams with other first-year students. You'll continue to have courses year after year that continue to build on this, on those different project-based team learning experiences, culminating in your final year where you'll be taken on a capstone design project, where you and your peers will work with industry partners to solve real-life problems. Some capstone projects have actually become startups or have allowed students to secure jobs upon graduation. So some examples in recent years have included like mechanical engineering. Students have created a chocolate 3D printer using off-the-shelf products or 3D printed parts. Civil engineering students have designed a machine shop for BC ferries. Environmental engineering students have designed a year-round treatment plant to treat the groundwater that was contaminated by the Great Mine up in Yellowknife. Now, if you're interested in research, you'll also have an opportunity to do that as well. You can gain paid research experience, or you can participate in clubs like the Undergrad Research Organization, who helps pair students with areas of research that they are interested in. Later on in your degree, you can also customize your studies by choosing to pursue a minor. So maybe you have 2 different interests, 2 different areas of interest, and you want to combine them. maybe perhaps you can take on a minor. It's not a requirement, but it will allow you to have that secondary focus. So for example, Vancouver campus, you can take a minor in commerce, entrepreneurship, science, math, or arts. At Okanagan, you can do management, computer science, or arts. So you definitely have a few options to choose from. Study abroad is also a great opportunity as well if you want to do some traveling, experience different cultures while you're still a student. So you can consider going abroad to work, research, or study in your third year. And another way that students can find their passion is by joining a design team. This is something that is very interesting with all of our engineering students because it gives you the opportunity to design and create projects outside of the classroom. We have a lot of design teams, clubs, and affiliate chapters at both campuses that can help you expand your network, find your community, and even help develop an expertise in a field of study at both campuses. At the Okanagan campus, we have over 15 engineering design teams, clubs, or associations. And at the Vancouver campus, we have over 30 different design teams for you to choose from. And of course, we can't talk about customizing your degree without talking about co-op. So co-op is a great opportunity to apply your learning by working full-time with an employer. So typically in the co-op experience, students will get anywhere from 16 to 20 months of full-time paid work experience. A common question that we get from students is how do you qualify for co-op? Usually students will apply after second year. So if you have to be in second year standing to be eligible to start the co-op process. And also you have to meet the minimum academic requirements. And currently that is at 65% minimum CGPA. CGPA stands for the cumulative grade point average. So making sure you meet that requirement, being second year standing, will make you eligible to start pursuing co-op within our programs. We've had a lot of great success with co-op. As I mentioned, we do have the largest co-op program in Western Canada. So in 2023, some top employers that have taken on our students include Tech Resources. We have Metro Vancouver, Tesla, Suncor Energy, and Stem Cell Technologies as just some of the programs, some of the employers that have hired our co-op students. Another common question is, can you work internationally? Yes, you can. 102 students have worked internationally across 16 countries. We've secured over 3,000 work terms for students in 2023. And when we are looking at average earnings for co-op students across all 4 work terms cumulatively, our students have made over $65,000. So it's a great way to build up your resume, apply your learning, and also get paid while doing that. These are just, here's a list of just some of the sample jobs that our students that are hiring, our students are applying for. So you'll see some notable companies there, such as Amazon. If you like video games, there's a game design co-op available at that's hiring at Electronic Arts. You can even work for the Vancouver Fraser Port Authority, for example. So a lot of variety available for our students. So that's a bit of a snapshot of the different ways that how your academic experience could look like at UBC Engineering. While school, of course, is a great way to explore your interests, you should also be able to, it's an opportunity for you to also make new friends, right? Build your community. And there are many ways for you to find your community here at UBC. I know a lot of, especially if you're coming from high school, a lot of students are concerned about how do I make new friends, for example. But there are tons of ways that you can do that. Here at UBC. We already mentioned some of our design teams, but there's also a lot of clubs that you can get involved with. It might not have to be related to something with engineering. It could be, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. We also have the undergraduate engineering undergraduate student society in Vancouver and the Okanagan campuses. We also have EIDEAS teams. EIDEAS stands for Engineering, Inclusivity, Diversity, Equity Advancement for Students. So we have dedicated clubs for members of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, women in engineering, Black and Indigenous students. We have those spaces available for those students as well. But overall, UBC Engineering really does foster that community right away from when you enter UBC Engineering. You'll have a lot of supports to help you succeed, right? So we have our first year orientations. I know our Engineering Undergraduate Society hosts a bunch of tutoring and study sessions available for students as well, where they may be able to provide you with some free food. So again, tons of opportunities to get involved on campus and to be able to make new friends and connect with your peers.
Awesome. So thanks so much, Franco. Now that we've kind of gone through the programming and what's available at both of our campuses, we really wanted to get into the details about your questions or things you might be wondering about admissions to UBC Engineering for students who are Canadian or permanent residents of Canada. So students should plan to apply in their grade 12 year. So we highly encourage you to apply before December 1st, but the final deadline is January 15th. One of the main reasons we encourage applications by December 1st is so that you can be considered for scholarships. To be considered for merit-based awards, students will need to apply by December 1st and indicate that they would like to be considered for these awards, which is typically included in your application. Um, Another thing I like to talk about during this slide is a common question that we get, which is, does applying early increase my chances of getting accepted? So applying early doesn't increase your chances of getting accepted, but what it does is it will help you be considered as early as possible. And if you're missing any documents or if admissions has any questions, they're able to reach out to you early and be able to answer those questions so you can receive an offer, receive a response from UBC as quickly as possible. So the majority of the students apply directly to UBC from high school to either campus. However, there are also some other admission routes that you may not be as familiar with. So if you're an Indigenous student, we encourage you to self-identify on the application, as UBC's Aboriginal admission policy provides additional resources to Indigenous students. Academically outstanding international students who do not meet the English language admissions requirement can apply to Vantage College. And for those of you who may be worried about the competitive nature of admission to UBC from high school, or who would like to stay closer to home for the first year after graduating from high school, you may want to consider starting at one of our partner institutions that allows you to complete the whole first year program before transferring into Vancouver or the Okanagan campus. Today, we'll be specifically speaking about admission requirements for students entering directly from high school. If you're interested in learning more about transfer pathways, we encourage you to attend our Transfer Ask Me Anything virtual session happening at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, November 26th. So our admission requirements will depend on where you are studying and your academic history. You can see the full set of academic requirements for either campus on our website. Typically, these will include English, chemistry, physics, and pre-calculus, all at the grade 12 level. The screenshots shown here on this slide basically show the same options toggled for either the Vancouver or the Okanagan campus. You're going to choose your location, and then you're going to pick the program, which at UBC, our engineering program is called the Bachelor of Applied Science. So you'll see here it says Applied Science and then in brackets engineering. So admissions is based on a combination of something called the personal profile and your academic profile. So there is no specific grade that will ensure you get in. Spending time on your personal profile and doing well in all of your grade 11 and grade 12 courses will help you be the most competitive that you can be for admission. Your personal profile will consist of short essay questions on the application and will give you a chance to highlight experiences you have had outside of the classroom. It really should be more focused on reflection and what you've learned than the number of experiences that you have had. Your academic profile will look at both your overall and core academic assessment. These will consider all grade 11 and grade 12 academic courses, regardless of which year you took them. A focus will be on the grade 12 level courses if you have them available at the time of assessment. The core courses will include all the degree-specific requirement courses, but they will also include any other academic courses that fall into the categories of language arts, mathematics and computation, and sciences. So for those of you who may not have started your application yet, you can find the application link by going to our admission webpage, which is u.ubc.ca. On this website, you'll also find lots of amazing resources like admission requirements, financial planning, and so much more. Our biggest pieces of advice when you're starting your application is to start early and take your time. Let the online application guide you. Tell us your full academic history, be accurate, use an email address you check frequently, and note your UBC student number. So after you've started this application process, you're going to see that you're able to select 2 choices on your application. So we've taken screenshots and shown here. You have your first program choice and your second program choice. So what that looks like is you can choose your campus. So for our first choice here, we've chosen UBC Okanagan campus, and your program, which is the Bachelor of Applied Science, which is our engineering program at UBC. For your second choice, you can choose UBC Vancouver campus and a program such as Bachelor of Applied Science and Engineering, or you can decide to keep the same campus, say UBC Okanagan again for your second choice, and choose a different program like the Bachelor of Science. So this allows you really to choose 2 different programs at UBC to apply to if you want to increase your chances at getting into engineering at UBC, or if you're just interested in 2 different programs at UBC. So once you apply, be sure to keep an eye on your email, as UBC admissions will tell you what you need to submit and the deadline to submit it by. You should request that any of your official transcripts be sent directly to UBC. And if you need to provide proof of English language competency, the deadline to submit this is February 15th. So next, I'd like to talk about scholarships and tuition, and really talk about or answer the question like, what will your degree cost you, or how can you figure this out? So the best way to determine how much your first year will cost you is to use our first year cost calculator that is available online. It allows you to indicate all that applies to you to help you determine what your fees will be. You can expect each year your will cost roughly the same in the amount of tuition, with an increase of a couple percent each year. Tuition in your upper years will be very similar and is based off the number of courses you're taking. So this may vary depending on the engineering program that you decide to go into. You'll also need to consider additional costs like housing, meal plans, groceries, spending money, cell phone, laptop, things like that. But all of this is taken into account in this first year cost calculator, depending on which items you fill in. UBC also has some great financial support systems available for students. You can use the second and third links shown on this slide to learn more about some of the ways you can fund your degree at either campus. So one of the main reasons we encourage applications by December 1st is so that you can be considered for scholarships. There are many merit-based awards that you will be considered for as long as you apply by December 1st and indicate on your application that you would like to be considered for these awards. For students in the need of financial assistance, we also encourage you to submit the application to be considered for the Centennial Scholars Entrance Award and our Beyond Tomorrow Scholars Award for Black Canadian students. We also have engineering-specific awards for Indigenous students and women in engineering. Scholarship decisions are made in mid-March to the end of April, and this is around the same time you can expect to be receiving communication or offers of admission to UBC. We also encourage you to apply for external scholarships. So some keywords you can look for that are engineering, STEM, tech, women in engineering, or women in STEM. There's a lot of great scholarships out there, so it's really good to take a look through and do some research of what is available. Many of our students will also support their tuition by working as work-learn students throughout their degree, or they may be involved in the co-op program, which Franco mentioned earlier. So UBC has many great resources to help you plan your finances and learn more about the financial supports available. If you have any finance-related questions, please feel free to reach out to UBC using the contact UBC link at the bottom of the slide that is shown here. So next, we wanted to just chat briefly about housing or resident options for our incoming first-year students. So UBC offers a first-year residence guarantee at both campuses. First-year residence guarantee at both campuses as long as you apply by May 1st, you're an incoming first-year student from high school, and you meet the base criteria requirements. Most first-year students apply for winter session residence, and that's residence from September through to April. You can apply to residence anytime after you complete your application to UBC, or you can follow the instructions on the housing website shown here and just make sure you apply by May 1st if you want to be considered for that residence guarantee. Please also note that there is a fee associated with applying to residence, and you can find more details about this on the housing web pages. So to wrap up today, I just want to mention a few additional resources that you may want to be aware of or look into a little bit more. Keep an eye out for emails from us, from UBC Engineering. That is where we'll be sharing a lot of important information, and we let you know about upcoming events or cool engineering stories or things that's happening at both of our campuses. We also often feature our UBC Engineering ambassadors who you can start a chat with at any point in time. We have students from both campuses. They've been on design teams and co-op on exchange and many other experiences. So they're a really great resource if you have any questions about the student experience. We just like to note, though, that they are not able to answer questions related to admissions or study permits or your application, but they're there if you want to learn about what it's like in classes, what it's like on the campuses, things like that. UBC also offers many events and sessions leading up to the application deadline. If you have specific questions about your application or your personal profile, I recommend attending an upcoming virtual application workshop. The next workshop is on November 28th from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Registration is required, and the webpage link on this slide will take you to the page if you want to register for this, or if you want to check out any of the other events, such as our campus tours or any other information sessions. So as Franco mentioned earlier, we have two current engineering students here with us today that are super excited to share their experience with you and answer any questions they have. So before we start the Q&A, I just want to give them both a minute to introduce themselves. So I'm going to start by passing it over to Chloe first.
Thank you, Marie. So again, hi everyone. My name is Chloe. I am a third-year materials engineering student at the UBC Vancouver campus. I am also currently on an 8-month co-op, which ends in 2.5 weeks, I think, or 3 weeks. And I'm working for the Faculty of Applied Science and helping in their recruitment office as their events communication coordinator. So I've helped with a lot of events like the open house, if you attended that. I am also very involved in the Engineering Undergraduate Society at the UBC Vancouver campus. So the image on the right on the slide is from UBC Vancouver's Imagine Day, which is a big, it replaces the start of classes in first year. So it's great for incoming students to kind of get a feel for campus, meet all of your new peers. So I was helping out with that as an executive since I am the Vice President of Communications for the Society. And I've also been involved in a design team, and I am looking into going on exchange. So lots of things that I can talk about, and I've lived in residence, so feel free to ask me any questions related to that. I am happy to share.
Thanks so much for that. Awesome overview, Chloe. I'm sure we'll get lots of great questions asking about your experience. Now I'm going to pass it over to Ashton to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashton. I'm in my 4th year in mechanical engineering at the UBC Okanagan campus. Currently, I am also on co-op, so if you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer them. I'm actually from Kelowna as well, so if you have any questions about Kelowna, also happy to answer them. So I've had some experience in a research lab in my first co-op term and during the academic year, and then now I'm working in another research lab actually at the Vancouver campus as well. So the image on the left there is a photo of the group that I got to go to Tokyo, Japan with in the summer of 2023. So we were there actually for a course, and this counted towards one of my technical electives. So we learned about automation and robotics in Japan, which was super cool. So that's just one of the opportunities you'll get through this program. And then in the middle is just a design project we got to work on where we made an electric motor. And then image on the right is from a materials lab I worked at the Okanagan campus. And we're studying the impact characteristics of a certain steel. And so we got to shoot it with a big bullet, which was really exciting. So I included that there. Yeah, happy to answer you guys' questions.
Thanks so much, Ashton. It's great to see all the different things you've been involved with, and I'm not going to dive into it much more because I'm just interested to see what our audience here today would like to ask us. So, the rest of the session today is going to be open for Q&A. We want to hear from you. We want to answer your questions and see what your inquiries are and what you're interested in learning more about. So I see we have quite a few questions already in the Q&A. Please put all of your questions into the Q&A or upvote questions that already exist. If you put a question into the chat, please copy paste it into the Q&A because that is where we're going to be reviewing all of the questions. So let's just dive right in here. I'm just going to open this up and do a scan. Let's see. Okay, so one of the top questions here, Ashton, is are there any opportunities for undergraduate students to work with professors for research? And if so, what might those opportunities include?
Awesome question. Yeah, I actually did exactly that. So in my second year in my material science class, I found the content really interesting. So I went up to my professor after class and asked if there was any potential research opportunities, and he said yes. And so through that connection, I got to work directly in his lab. As far as the variety of opportunities goes, I'm not 100% sure. I know there's options available across all the disciplines, at least at UBC Okanagan. Yeah, it's a really good experience.
Thanks, Ashton. I appreciate you shedding some light onto your experience into research. There is a lot of different opportunities for research. There's scholarships available if you're interested in research, work study positions, which is another way research positions can be funded for undergrads. We too do typically recommend students, if you're interested, you start exploring that in your second year, figuring out where your interest might be, and then approaching supervisors or professors at the Okanagan campus. There are some other methods too at the Vancouver campus. There's some clubs and groups you can join that assist with finding placements. Franco, Chloe, is there anything that we missed for the Vancouver campus that you would like to share related to research?
I think you covered most of it. Yeah, we have our undergraduate research opportunities club, which, as Marie said, connects you with opportunities. So that's how you can do it by yourself, but also just going up and talking to your professors is a great way to get involved.
Thanks, Chloe. So the next question here that has the most votes is what do you recommend to include in your personal profile? So that's a great question, really common question. I know a lot of students get very concerned about their personal profile because it is something that you're really sharing stuff that's very specific to you and true to your personal experiences. And that's really what we want you to show in this personal profile. Like UBC really wants you to show us who you are, who your authentic self is. A great webpage here is on the u.ubc.ca website. I'm going to put it into the chat so everyone can copy it if they would like to see more. But it's a whole page about writing your personal profile. It has personal profile questions on here, but really the big thing is taking the time to reflect on your experiences, right? And to think about what you learned from those experiences, just not just what the experience is. So if you have a leadership experience, you might be looking at that and what you learned from that, right? It might not have been you running a whole program or something by yourself. It might be you working with your community to organize something and showing how those skills really impacted you in your community and what you learned from that. The other thing I really like to mention about this is that your personal profile responses don't have to be specifically engineering related, right? Like we know that there is opportunities for you to potentially be involved with engineering related clubs or programs, but that's not always what happens throughout your high school, depending on your interests or what your focuses are. So talking about sports you've been involved with or other jobs you've had, those are all great things to include in your personal profile, and it does not have to be engineering specific. I'm just gonna copy paste this into the chat here if anyone wants to see it. Maybe Franco, if you don't mind grabbing the next question.
Absolutely. So thanks, Marie. So the next most upvoted question is, what is the ideal or recommended GPA to be accepted into this program directly from high school? Another commonly asked question that we get from prospective students. And what I have to say is it depends. Each and every single year, of course, UBC gets lots of applications from all over the world. And the GPA requirement is, it could change. It changes from year to year, and it's based on who applies and what grades those students apply with. Keep in mind that Marie had covered it a little bit in our earlier in one of our slides as well. When UBC is evaluating your application, we're looking, of course, at your academic requirements, and we're also looking at your personal profile as well. So those are both equally weighted when we're looking at the admission decision. So it's great that if you have really great grades, that's a great place to start. But also making sure that you're putting full effort into that personal profile as well, because we also want to know who you are outside of the classroom as well. So when going back to the question, what is the ideal recommended GPA? There's no specific number that we can share right now, because again, it just depends on competition and who applies and with what grades. One of the things I always tell students when I get this question with grades is, it's very easy to get tripped up with, get caught up with like, what grades do I need to get into a program? Ultimately, control what you can control. There's a lot of things that you're worrying about, especially in your grade 12 year. Just make sure you're putting full effort into your studies, right? Making sure you're doing as best as you can in your studies at school. Get the highest grades that you can, and that's all you can control, right? So continue working hard, get the highest grades that you can, and that will take care of itself in that way. So that's what I have. Anything else, Marie?
No, I think you covered it really. It's
Yeah.
doing your best and working on that personal profile early, reflecting and taking the
Yes.
time. So
Yes.
there is a few questions here about co-op, so I thought it'd be good to jump back to a question for both of our students here today. There's two questions related to co-op here. One was about the process to find a co-op job, and was that difficult, or how did that process look? And also then what have your co-op experiences been like? So maybe if you guys can both share maybe your pathway in co-op and how that's been for you.
For sure. I can start. So finding a co-op was a little bit challenging, as given that the co-op that I'm currently on is my first ever co-op. So like I had a couple other small jobs in the summer before this, like lifeguarding or just a couple other small things, but nothing to the scale of like the jobs that you would be getting through co-op. But the co-op program provides a lot of great resources, teaches you how to like write your resume, and like what you should include in that, what you should include in cover letters. It helps you prepare for interviews. I did end up applying to over 20 jobs before I got this co-op, and I had 2 interviews total. And the position that I have right now has been really good. It's not a technical role, but it's taught me a lot of soft skills, helped me with my communication, and team building, and just time management, and a lot of skills that I can apply to any other job that I get in the future.
Yes, I can share my experience on it too. Yeah, so when I approached my professor my second year, as I mentioned, I was able to secure a part-time position in the lab. And just through that role, I was able to actually extend into the summer and work full-time. And that was counted towards my co-op program. So I didn't directly go through the PD portal. So you can also, if you have connections, you can also leverage those. If you know people in wherever you want to be, then that's really a big step up. And then for the job that I'm currently at, I just applied through the PD portal. As was mentioned by Chloe, like there's a lot of good resources through the co-op portal and the advisors, so they'll help you like provide or produce a good quality resume and write cover letters, which I really hate, but you have to do them. And yeah, they'll help you out with that. So it was a good experience. I didn't struggle too much with it just because there's a lot of help. Um, and yeah, the experience itself has been really good. I probably learned more in my co-op than a lot of my degree in a way. It's like applied knowledge and specific to industry, whereas in the classroom, you need the classroom knowledge to be able to perform well in those industrial environments. But it's been really great to learn so much. And I know from speaking with other employers that they really value co-op experience, and even just regular job experience like lifeguarding. They also will look at that it's good. So yeah, whatever job experience you have, put that on your resume. That's my advice.
And Ashton, just to build off that a little bit, do you find the knowledge you're learning in class you're applying in your co-op positions? I know you're more research focused in your current positions, but does it help you see I guess, the correlation to what you're learning in class?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like there's in my first job, I was working with some steels, and in our materials class, we learned about like the cooling curves and microstructure, and we saw some images in class of like etched samples, but then doing it in the lab or seeing it in person just like totally solidified it. I felt like I could speak the language of the people around me. Um, yeah, it totally depends on the job. Like I don't use fluid mechanics in my materials um, research job, of course. So it really depends. But yes, there's certainly application.
Thanks so much for sharing, both of you. It's co-op is such a great opportunity, and like Franco said, a really great way to fund some of your studies. The other thing I just want to reiterate is the Applied Science Co-op program is one program across both campuses. So regardless of the campus you choose to be at, if you decide you would like to go into co-op and state your intent to go in that in your second year, you will be able to access the same resources, the same job postings, all the same training. And that's why Chloe and Ashton's experiences are pretty similar in that way, because it's one program across both campuses. Franco, I see a very interesting question in here. I think it'd be great for maybe both of us to answer this question because I think it's a little bit different at both of the campuses. And it's about if you can switch engineering programs if you change your mind when you have already selected one. Um, so for the Okanagan campus, students, like was mentioned earlier, you're guaranteed placement in any of the 5 programs after your foundational first year. Because we're not competitive entry into our programs, there is opportunities for students to switch later on in their degree. But I always caution just that a little bit because starting in your second year, you're going to be taking a lot more courses that are related to your program. So you may have to take additional courses if you decide to switch between programs, and it may extend your degree. So it's not a problem for placement at the Okanagan campus. It's really related to potentially taking additional courses.
Yeah, and for sure at the Vancouver campus, of course, transfers are possible, and like we understand, like your mind might change, and you might take a course, and you're like, oh, suddenly I'm interested in that specialization. So yes, you can apply for a transfer. Typically, these happen between March and like mid-March to mid-May for you to submit an application. I will say that, of course, when you're applying for a transfer, it is still subject to competition, so it is a competitive process overall still.
Thanks, Franco. I also saw a question that's specific for the Vancouver campus that I was hoping to pass over to you, and is there any possible way to enroll in biomedical
Yeah.
engineering directly in your first year? Um,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
pass it over.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, so at the Vancouver campus, we do offer a pre-biomedical engineering standardized timetable. So typically students will get an additional communication, typically in probably early 2025 if we're thinking about this application cycle. And yeah, there will be an opportunity for you if you are interested in that modified first year pre-biomedical engineering schedule. You can apply for that. So the program actually, one thing I can plug in here, they are hosting information sessions for the pre-biomedical engineering modified timetable. I can drop a link in the chat shortly once I find it, and you can definitely connect with the program directly to learn more about what that modified schedule will look like and what the process looks like as well. But yes, overall, there is that option.
Thanks, Franco. I see there's a question here related to admissions. Does putting a program as my second choice reduce my chances of getting into it? Would it be better to just submit two separate applications? So for UBC, if you're interested in applying to UBC, you can only submit one application, and within that one application, you can choose a first choice and a second choice. So if you're interested in applying or interested in two different programs, we always recommend you put your preferred program as your first choice and another program you may be interested in as your second choice. If throughout this application process or the assessment process, you're like, ooh, I changed my mind, I really would prefer my second choice, that's when you email admissions and just ensure that you're also being assessed for your second choice program. So yeah, only one application can be submitted, but you are able to do two choices within that single application. So while I'm working through some of these admissions questions here, I was wondering if Chloe and Ashton could share a little bit about, maybe Chloe, I'm gonna maybe ask if you can share a little bit about residence. I think living in residence, that'd be a really interesting thing to share.
Yeah, for sure. So in first year, I was in residence at the Vancouver campus. We have three main residence buildings, and then there's various types of rooms that you can get. When I filled out the application, I wanted to get a single connected, so I just clicked that box and then I was put into that, which was really nice. So that meant I shared just a bathroom with one other person. I didn't really see my roommate that often. So the one thing about having like different residence rooms is that you do have slightly different community experience, but honestly, in general, living on residence for me was great for community because I was so close to everything. I could wake up 15 minutes before my class as well and just rush over. But it was also great for extracurriculars because I was still on campus, so a lot of events happened in the evening sometimes. And so it was nice to be able to go to the events and then just be home like 5 minutes later. The food was a bit interesting. Most of the time it's good, but it is kind of the same. So I did kind of get tired of it, but then I had snacks in a kettle in my room, so I was able to make different snacks. And I also ate out if I got sick and tired of the residence food.
Thanks, Chloe. That's great. And I know we receive a lot of feedback from our students that the first year orientations and the residents are such a great way to meet other incoming students within your faculty and in other faculties. So a lot of students share that's how they've made their lifelong friends and really got integrated into the campus and different things there. So if that is of interest to you, there's a lot of great things about residents and a lot of great resources online if you want to look into the residents that are available and what the options are there. So we have a question here about when does UBC want to see your grade 12 grades and are they interested in current midterm marks? So when you apply to UBC, they're going to provide you with all the information of what documents they need and when they need them by. So submit your application and UBC is going to look to see what you've supplied, what automatically is supplied through with your application and what they need you to submit as well. So if you're currently say in grade 12, but you still need to take, say, English 12 in your term 2. Don't worry, though they're going to know you're taking English 12, just as long as you have that in your schedule to take before you graduate and you have all those degree specific requirements at your time of submission of your application. They're going to look at the courses that you have for that initial assessment, and then they'll contact you for what they need further when they're reviewing your application. The next question is, how are AP class grades considered compared to grade 12 marks? So I'm assuming that's, for an example, AP calculus compared to like a pre-calculus 12. So it really depends on what I guess, your preference, right? So students can take AP courses if they would like, and depending on the score that you get for your AP course, that may be transferable to a first year course at UBC, depending on the course you've taken and the final grade you receive in that course. Um, in the application process, UBC does look at breadth, depth, and relevancy. So that's where some of these more, as I say, challenging courses like AP courses, or if you've taken a university course, comes into play when UBC is looking at your application. However, if you don't have that and you have the required degree-specific requirements, you're still meeting all of the requirements that UBC would require. So as long as you go to the program that you're interested in, you look that you meet UBC's admissions requirements, you meet your degree specific requirements, that's what you need to apply. And if you decide you'd like to take AP courses, that will also be considered under the breadth, depth, and relevancy. The one thing I do recommend is students really think about their own personal scenario, because if you take all AP courses and you have a reduced grade because of that, that could impact potentially your ability to be accepted into a program. So really think about your strengths here. Think about how this may affect your application. And you do not need all AP courses when you're applying to university. So trying to balance that out. Ashton and Chloe, I don't know if you have any feedback on that from your own experience, if you took AP courses in high school or not, if you wanted to add anything to that.
I'll just say one thing. I went to a really small school, so we didn't have AP courses, but I would just personally recommend taking calculus if you can in high school, just because it's helps a lot with the transition into the math you learn in first year.
I see a few people are asking what is an AP course. An AP course is advanced placement course. So that's a type of course that you can take that has a different set of exams. I'll just pull in the information about IB curriculum and the AP courses just for anyone who wants to look into that. Can I pass over to you, Franco, for the next
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, for sure. So another question that is highly upvoted right now, there's a specific student situation. They have really great grades, high 90s, but they're concerned about one particular course and how that might affect their application. For a question like this, I would recommend that you contact our admissions team directly for more information about that. We just want to make sure you get the correct information on that and how that would be considered. But overall, generally, like when you do apply, UBC admissions will review all of your grade 11 and grade 12 grades. And as Marie had mentioned, of course, we'll also be looking at performance in core courses. So for that student, what I will do is I will drop the how you can connect with UBC admissions in the link in the contact form, so you can follow up with them directly.
So I see another question here is, what is the early decision application deadline for out of province students? So for UBC's early admission deadline is December 1st for all students. So students who apply by December, Canadian and permanent resident students who apply by December 1st will also have the option to be considered for some of those merit-based scholarships. So December 1st is that early admissions deadline. So when do we usually hear back about an admissions decision? Is another question here. So students who apply by December 1st may hear back as early as in December or January. UBC is being very proactive at reviewing applications early and sending out those offers if they're available. If you apply to December 1st and you don't hear back before mid-January, don't worry. You're automatically going to be considered in the main application pool that closes in January 15th. And then students will hear back about their applications, usually in like February, March, April in there. If you have any questions though, anything changes with your academic record that you submitted, please reach out to admissions and let them know, or ask any questions that you have about your application. So there's a question here, Franco, about percentage of high school applicants that typically get accepted. I feel like we could talk about maybe the size of our first year classes for perspective. So at the Okanagan campus, we have an incoming class of about 400 students. So 400 to 425 in there. At the Vancouver campus, it's roughly about 1,000 students in their incoming first year cohort. We do get many more applications than that, but that's roughly the amount of students we're accepting into our first years at both campuses. While we're talking about our first year at both campuses, I think I want to pass it over to our students here, maybe to tell us what their favorite thing was about their first year in engineering. I can see you're both thinking there's just too many things that are amazing, and you just have to pick one.
Um, for me, it honestly probably would have been the campus. So the UBC Vancouver campus is really beautiful, especially in the springtime with all the cherry blossoms. And I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but I'm from Ontario, so I moved across the country. Only one other person from my high school also came to UBC. I do have um, kind of not immediate family, but like an uncle out here. But I didn't really know that many people, so just a great thing, but it was also kind of intimidating about first year was just the entirely new environment, taking on engineering, but also at an amazing campus. And there's so many amazing study spots. And so when I was sick and tired of studying, I would just go outside and walk down Main Mall and just look at the nice trees.
Thanks, Chloe. Over to you, Ashton.
Um, Probably say making new friends in first year. I'm from Kelowna, and Okanagan campus is in Kelowna. So, I still got to hang out with my friends from high school, but also just meeting more um like-minded people as well. Other people in engineering is really cool to like bond over our interests, also bond over the struggles. I think that's one of the best ways we bond as people. Yeah, and then also like actually learning about engineering was just really, I mean, it's really cool to actually get into starting to learn the foundations and like what it actually means to understand the governing equations and stuff like that. I think it was really cool just to actually study. That's maybe an unpopular opinion.
Well, that's great. There's so many great things about first year, and you guys both touched on really great viewpoints of that, and sharing your personal experience. It's also it's really nice to hear your path and what was important to you. Also, taking those breaks, Chloe, is always good to refresh. So that's awesome. Um, Franco, there's a question here about guaranteed placement for
Okay.
programs at the Vancouver campus. How UBC selects students for this and what are the requirements? So maybe would you mind just revisiting that guaranteed program placement again?
Yeah, so there will be, so as I mentioned earlier with the placement process, majority of students you'll determine your program placement at near the end of first year as part of that second year program placement process. A small number of students we do offer a if they're identified as a top applicant, they may be offered that opportunity to select their program placement a little bit earlier. So for some of these students, so if you are looking to apply for to start in fall 2025, you may hear back if and when if you receive an offer, and we'll follow up with you if you qualify for the guaranteed placement through a separate communication. So what's important here is something that Maria had mentioned earlier is staying on top of your communications, making sure that you're using an email that you check regularly, because if you qualify for that, we will contact you. Um, as I mentioned earlier, if you don't receive that communication, don't worry. This is just one way of being able to get placed. Most students, again, the overwhelming majority of students will be placed at the end of year one. And even if you do get that guaranteed placement, right, the note is you still need to maintain your grades in your first year, still meet the academic requirements in order to keep that guaranteed placement. So um, more information to come. If you do qualify for that guaranteed placement, we'll let you know.
Perfect. So we're at time. And so I just want to allow Chloe and Ashton to maybe provide a piece of advice for some of the prospective students, piece of advice for maybe something that you wish you had known before going to university, what you would tell yourself if you could go back in time. before we close out there?
Sure. Yeah. As much as studying kind of encompasses every second of your time in first year, for me at least, um, I would say like if I had to go back and do it again, if I got to, then I would probably focus less on getting the best grades possible and focus a lot more on like joining clubs and um, networking, making more friends, just like trying out every experience I could. Because there's a lot of cool clubs and a lot of fun events that are offered. The Okanagan campus, I know there's a lot as well at Vancouver campus. So yeah, just don't be shy to check those out.
On that same note, I would say I wish I had told myself earlier and knew just to like step outside of my comfort zone more. Like I was probably very terrified first year for the first couple of weeks. Um, but with all those events and all the orientation sessions, there's lots of upper years there to welcome you and show you the ropes, tell you about their experiences, lots of different support opportunities. And just like the other thing is like it's intimidating making friends and saying hi to the person next to you in class, but everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's very nervous, very scared. University is a big step up from high school. But even just saying hi to the person next to you um, is just a really great way to get started and stepping outside of your comfort zone and making those connections.
Thank you so much, Chloe and Ashton, for sharing that. And I just want to say a really big thank you for both of you to be here today to share your experience with the students and families here today. It's really nice to hear directly from our students about the program and all the amazing things that you're doing right now. Franco and I are going to stay on for a little bit longer to answer some more of these admissions related questions, but we just wanted to thank you so the two of you can head out and either relax or go back to your busy schedules of all the different things you've been doing. So thank you so much again for joining us. And like I said, Franco and I will stay on for about 10 more minutes or so, and we're going to go through a few more because we still have quite a few questions here in the Q&A. So we'll try to get through a few more, but Ashton and Chloe, feel free to sign off.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming out. Good luck with all your applications.
Thank
Thank
you
you
both.
both. Have a good night.
So I see Franco here. There's a question about completing a double degree, such as engineering and life science or engineering entrepreneurship. So this is a great opportunity for us to share a little bit about maybe like the minors and options, concentrations we can do. So at the Okanagan campus, there is an option to do like a dual degree, dual master's, so a bachelor's of engineering and a master's of management program. That's really for the Okanagan campus, that is our confirmed, I would say, dual degree program. If you're interested in a secondary area of study, that's when I really refer students to a minor. So at the Okanagan campus, we have a minor in arts, computer science, and management. And then if you're looking to specialize within your degree, that's when I start talking about concentrations or options. That's really where you're specializing within your program. So for example, if you're in mechanical engineering, you might want to specialize in aerospace or biomedical or mechatronics at the Okanagan campus. So that's basically taking groupings of courses related to a specific subject area. Over to you, Franco.
Yeah, so at the Vancouver campus, we do offer minors across arts, entrepreneurship, commerce, math, and science as well. So maybe if you are considering life sciences, maybe science could be an option for you. For dual degrees, we offer the one option with arts and engineering. So that's offered in tandem with our Faculty of Arts here at UBC Vancouver. And another alternative path, since you mentioned life sciences, we do also offer a pre-medical alternative path that you could look into. And so this pathway will allow students to get access to courses that are required to apply to med school if that is something you want to do later on while you're completing an accredited engineering degree. So we do offer those pathways so you can kind of combine both interests.
Thanks, Franco. So I noticed there's a question about if they live in a different, someone lives in a different province, how would the admissions application differ? So in the slides, we were showing that you can select the degree-specific requirements for the program. You can actually look under your province. It will confirm the course codes in your province, so you know you've taken the right courses. But beside that, just follow the instructions on that application process is going to lead you, the application will lead you through everything you need to submit, everything you need to know, regardless of which province that you're in. There's a question here, Franco, about transfer from other universities into UBC engineering versus transfer into engineering from other programs from UBC. So I think internal transfer
Yeah,
versus external
yeah,
transfer, many conversations around this.
yeah.
Which one is easier? Do you want to start or?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. So transferring, so Marie in the presentation had presented and shown that there are a few ways that you can get a UBC engineering degree, right? Number one is direct entry, like you go directly from high school into the UBC engineering program, or you could also do we have engineering transfer agreements with various colleges and universities across BC as well, where you can complete their engineering certificate program and be able to transfer into UBC engineering after that as well. What is easier? I think easy is subjective. That is what I'll say there. This is very similar to a question where we got, like, for example, a student was asking what GPA should I aim for to get into the program? This varies from year to year. Again, these, like any of our academic cutoffs and whatnot, these are always based on competition. So it depends on, again, who applies, what grades these students apply with, and that will determine kind of who gets in and who gets an offer, who may not get an offer. What I will say, however, through the engineering transfer program, so we have, again, specific partnerships with colleges and universities across Vancouver, across BC as well, where if you, for example, if you finish an engineering certificate program at Langara College, for example, if you finish their program within 2 academic terms, and you achieve a 3.1 GPA, then you can get guaranteed admission into your second year at UBC Engineering Vancouver. And if you want to apply to Okanagan, that is available as well. That GPA cutoff is 2.8 for that guaranteed admission. But of course, you have to make sure you complete that program with that partner institution and also finish within that time frame as well. So for this question, what I will do is I will send you a link to our transfers program page, which will detail that a little bit more. And so hopefully that will give you just more clarity on what that process could look like if you are transferring from another university.
I don't have much to add. Franco did a great overview for both campuses. The only thing I want to just plug again is that we have a transfer session like this,
Oh,
Ask Me
yes.
Anything session next week, Tuesday, November 26th at 5 p.m. It's virtual. So if a transfer pathway is of interest for you, this is a great session to attend. We have transfer students that are in some of the, have basically transferred through our pathways that are attending to share their experience and how that, why they decided and how that worked for them, as well as we'll be going into some more of the details related to transfer during that session. There's a question here, Franco, about what are some of the opportunities that we will get to explore different engineering fields during our degree. So this is the great thing about our foundational first year, right? You're able to go in, you're going to be with your cohort of engineering students, get to know each other, but you're building that foundational knowledge that you'll need for whatever engineering program you decide to go into. You're building those foundational engineering design skills, but you're also getting that entire year to explore. and really find out which engineering program is right for you. And we really encourage students to do that. So we have an open house in the fall. We have a first year program fair. There's opportunities for students to chat with senior students or professors about the career paths or co-op placements they've been on or why they chose their engineering field. And it really just gives you an opportunity to learn what's right for you and explore a bit. And we find that students do change, right? Like they come in with one, like, I really want this specific engineering program. They learn more about it. They're like, oh, that's not exactly what I thought it would be. Or, oh, I didn't know this engineering program existed. And it's a really I really encourage students to have a very open mind when they come into our first year foundational program because it really allows you to find what your passion is and discover what is right for you, which is a huge benefit of attending a university that has a foundational first year. There's a few questions here about the session recording. Franco, this will be sent
Yeah.
out to everybody who registered for the event, and we also post it on our UBC Engineering YouTube channel, usually within a week.
Yeah.
Franco, is that pretty
Usually in about a
accurate?
week. Yeah, we'll have that up on our YouTube channel. So if you want to revisit this, it'll be on our YouTube channel. You can give us a follow, UBC Engineering.
Perfect. There's a question here about taking a reduced course load and if you can take courses in the summer. So for the Okanagan campus, we have a 4-year degree plan and a 5-year academic degree plan that's actually pre-mapped out for engineering students who are interested in either taking the full course load with the 4-year degree plan or a reduced course load with a 5-year degree plan for we have them mapped out for all 5 of our engineering programs. There is opportunities to take some courses in the summer as well. Some of these courses are courses that you may not have taken if you were in the 5-year degree plan in your current year, and maybe you want to go back to a 4-year degree plan. Other ones are courses that students may take that have like their big prerequisite courses for courses the next year. So if someone has failed, it's an opportunity for them to take the course again. So there's a lot of different options at the Okanagan campus for that. So if you're interested in a reduced course load, I always recommend you come talk to an engineering academic advisor first. Talk through that academic plan, make sure it's right for you. I did see a few questions in here about athletes. Same idea. You're going to have advisors if you're an athlete. They're going to work through the schedule with you. You get matched with an engineering advisor who works through that schedule with you to make sure you're taking the right courses. It's not conflicting with your training schedule, with your travel schedules. So if you're an athlete, UBC is set up for that, set up to help you with your success there, but also have courses that will work with the whatever athletics that you're currently involved in. Franco, anything else to add?
Nope, same thing at the Vancouver campus. Yeah, if you're a varsity athlete, yes, we do have a dedicated advisor in our engineering academic services team. So she'll work with you, right, to make sure that you're set up for success. And if you are, so I think the original question was about course load, right? And so yeah, chat with your advisors. They're there. Their job is to help you with sequencing your courses, any questions you have about just meeting your graduation requirements, right? They're there for you. So they're available in person. They also have virtual advising sessions as well. So they're accessible either in person or virtually.
Okay, so I see that there's 2 attendees here who have their hands up. If we haven't answered your question yet, can you maybe just pop it into the chat and we can look at what your question is? The session is recorded, which is why we don't unmute participants during the session. But if you just want to type your question into the chat here, then we'll be able to see. It's just hard to see in the Q&A. So it sounds like from base what I can see, Pam, you're looking to apply to the Bachelor's of Science at either the Vancouver Okanagan campus. So what I would recommend for you to do is to go onto the u.ubc.ca website, look up the degree requirements for the Bachelor of Science, Franco and I are recruitment advisors for the Bachelor of Applied Science with his engineering, so we're not able to comment on the requirements for the Bachelor's of Science. So I'd recommend going there. And then if you have additional questions, there's a great contact us page on UBC that goes to UBC recruiters who can answer any other questions that you would have about applying to the Bachelor of Science at either one of our campuses. So I see we have a few questions here that are very specific related to GPA and specific scenarios. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste in our email addresses to reach Franco and I, because anything that's very specific to your specific grade in a course or a specific scenario, if you're thinking of transferring, would be better for us to chat via email so Franco and I can get the full picture, and be able to provide you with the best advice. So I'm just going to copy paste in the UBC Okanagan and the UBC Vancouver emails for Franco and I so that you can reach us and share any other information. Oh, let me just edit that. Perfect. So I think we have reached our time today. We're just about 20 minutes over. So Franco and I just want to thank everyone so much for coming here today. It was so great to chat or to share all this information with you, to see all of your questions. Like we said earlier, we're going to be posting this recording within the next week or so, and I have posted our email addresses in the chat. So please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. We are happy to help you. Best of luck with your applications, and we hope to see you all at one of our campuses next year in September. Have a great evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Hope to see you on campus soon.